once again signing up for the fastest F1 sim racing league in the world. For the past 2 years, I've been racing in PSGL, and I've slaughtered my way through the ranks from the slums of PSGL F8 all the way up to F5 in a single year, and from F7 to F4 in the very next one. This year, I'm going to sign up to the league again, but with a unique challenge. What if I only had 72 hours to complete the entire sign-up process, while others will have more than 2 weeks to complete theirs? With this very limited amount of time, just where will I be able to qualify, I wonder. To sign up, you need to upload your fastest lap for the 2 following tracks, Spa and COTA. And heading into this, I knew the first few laps would be to simply get used to these new cars. How they handle the traction in the high-speed corners, can you throw them into the fast sections, and most importantly, will they stick? The new regulation cars are smaller and handle very differently compared to last year. The internal combustion engine is a lot weaker, which means the gear usage through a lot of these corners have changed, and some of the optimal racing lines have changed as well. This is all going to take quite some time to get used to, and I was about to have my biggest reality check of the day. After just a couple of laps on both tracks, I got my first reference laps of the day when I set my first valid time on each track. 1 minute 45.192 at Belgium and 1 minute 32.683 at COTA. Oh boy, we're gonna have to go a lot faster than that. I decided to start with Spa, a track I had grown very comfortable on. And here's something that I quickly noticed. It's that these cars are extremely understeery, especially on corner entry, and you often want to use second gear in places where you used third in the previous year. And this has proven to be very effective. Just from applying this to the first and the last corner of the track, I managed to gain 2/10, but there was still a lot of time to find because these lines are far from perfect, and I can still go so much faster. I can feel it. And this final lap time might just shock you. The first day is all about reconnaissance and try to go way over the limit to see what works and what doesn't. And to be honest, this is my favorite part of racing. When you first hit the ground running on a brand new track with a brand new car, having zero idea how any of this is gonna fall into place, I loved every single second of it. And quickly, in just a few laps time, by applying my previous tip of using lower gears for a lot of these corners, I managed to bring my lap time from a 44.9 down to a 44.8. That could have been a 44.7, but your boy completely missed the turn-in point out of the bus stop chicane. But no matter, failing is part of the process, and while looking for the limit, you often find it. And I quickly discovered that the rear is extremely loose under braking with these new regulation cars, and that they are much more sensitive when going over curbs because the cars are a lot smaller, have a little less grip, and are no longer based on ground force. This means you can't attack the curbs as hard as you used to. Once we fixed the bus stop, we managed to bring the time down by another 10, now sitting at a 1 minute 44.7. But this was still not enough. I needed to break into the top 200 in the world. So I did what any sensible person would have done. I drove some more. By simply being more bold over the curbs into Lecombe and keeping a tighter line, using this inside curb to rotate, and then having a fantastic exit coming out of Stavelo, I managed to bring all this extra time down to Blanchimont and then into the bus stop, where I actually managed to keep most of the time gain. If you've ever felt the pressure doing a live qualifying, then you know how I felt in these last few corners. One mistake would have meant all the time gain down the drain. But luckily, we didn't. And now we sit comfortably in the top 300 in the world. Not bad for a first day. And I'm very happy with the results. In less than 10 laps, we've managed to achieve, in about 10 laps, what took me a week and a half to achieve in F1 25. But with the clock ticking, I still have yet to start COTA. And remember, we only get 3 days for this. This meant that every lap counts. It was now 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it was getting dangerously close to my bedtime. And this is when I realized these cars just don't turn. Oh, you understood. The part that I struggled with the most was undoing all of the muscle memory from the previous generation of cars. Remember when I said the car was understeery at Belgium? Well, at COTA, it's even worse. And if you've driven this track before, then you know Sector 1 is heavily aero dependent, and you have to nail Sector 3 if you want a fast lap time, because any minimum speed loss there will be devastating. And honestly, it's been 5 laps, and I still have yet to hit the apex at the last corner a single time. But by simply cleaning up the S's and having cleaner lines out of the final sector, I managed to move up to a 1 minute 32.4. But just like in Belgium, we're gonna have to find a lot of time if we want to be competitive. And my goal once again was to break into the top 200 in the world. And on the very next lap, by having a very good exit out of turn 1 and finding success on being more bold with the throttle coming out of the slow section, we managed to gain another 10th all the way to the final corner, where I still missed the apex, but carry good momentum up to the line, bringing us to a 1 minute 32.3. We're now firmly in the top 500 now, but we have ways to go yet. And just like with Belgium, all we're doing right now is to try to find the limit on this track. And I'm sending it through every corner. Just like in Belgium, I discovered that using lower gears tends to be more effective with this year's cars. And every lap, it would go a little something like this. I would gain some time, and then I would invalidate a couple of corners later.
Fuck you.
Just a few laps later, I had more than 3 10s in the bank. Possibly more to find still, but unfortunately that was an invalid lap. And if I can just manage to hit the apex out of the final corner, maybe that's gonna help as well. And I was getting more and more frustrated at this point, especially since this car just doesn't turn. This was probably the hardest track to master on F1 25, and it still is one of the most technically demanding tracks. You go 1 millimeter too wide and you invalidate. But if you do not use all of the track, then you will be leaving 10ths on the table. But I didn't give up and I kept pushing. I mean, just look at the delta. If I can manage to put it all together, surely that's gonna bring us into the 131s along with the other big boys. But for that, we need to set another valid lap and to hit the apex into the final corner. And this track was hard. Really, really hard. But I never gave up. And I must have been on my 15th lap before I set my next valid lap of the day. Unfortunately, losing out a little bit into the 3rd sector, but we hit the apex into the final corner this time. And that's going to bring us down to 1 minute 32.1. But it's not over yet. On the next lap, we're going to keep going, gaining a full 10th out of the 1st sector through this tricky left, and bringing all that time gain down towards the hairpin, a 10th and a half. Downshift to 2nd before the apex on corner exit to get more torque. Still holding on to that time gain all the way into the 3rd sector. And I know there's still time, especially in the final corner of this track. But unfortunately on corner exit, a little too hasty on the throttle. And that's bye-bye. Unfortunately, that time is only good for the 364th position on the leaderboard.
Good job.
Okay.
And I was not satisfied. I was hungry for more. By the end of the first day, we were top 276 on Belgium and 364 on COTA. Not bad for a first day and just a handful of laps, but remember, we are on a tight schedule here, and if we want to qualify for a good tier and not end up in Chinese F8, we better get a move on and start driving for real.
Shit on. You need this top 200 then.
After a good night's rest, the date was now July 7th, and we only have one more day after this one to set the fastest lap time possible. And on my 2nd day at Belgium, I discovered a very strange glitch. Whenever I would drive through Eau Rouge and then Radion, if you hit this inside curve at the wrong angle, it doesn't matter how much speed you're carrying down the Camel Straight, you will magically lose 2 to 3 tenths in the process.
Again? So you can't cut over the inside curve? Fanculo.
And most of my morning was spent trying to work around this glitch because it just kept happening over and over again until I just simply decided to avoid it altogether because it's such an RNG bug that I would just rather not deal with it altogether. This is also when I got really, I mean, really good at turn 1. I'm finally starting to understand more how to attack the low-speed corners with these new regulation cars. Down to second gear, but being very aggressive on throttle while keeping the hands light on the steering wheel to let the car wash wide on its own and let the force feedback push you wide. And I would pretty much always come out of turn 1 with a full tenth gained. This is great news. But the problem is, I keep bottling into the second sector. Especially into Les Combes. Whenever I would come into it with a tenth gained, I would lose about half of it or all of the time gained coming out of this section. So I rewinded this section at least 15 times till I got it right. Luckily, I had a day off, so I spent the full morning just grinding Belgium, but I knew finding these last few tens was going to be much more difficult than whatever we had to do on the first day. This is where you need to squeeze every bit of the performance out of this car, and you have to clean up your driving. That's where you can find those last few crucial tenths. It was getting a little easier now, the muscle memory starting to kick in. After about 20 laps or so, I managed to get a good exit out of turn 1. Even though I lose a little bit into the second sector, I still managed to carry some of that time down towards Blanchimont, into bus stop, and across the start finish line. Sorry, never mind. After I invalidate like an absolute buffoon, I do another great lap, and I finally managed to bring it down into a low 5. But I kept pushing. Sometimes still running into that Radian glitch where you lose 2 tenths magically.
When you cut over the inside curve, you just... What? You lose 2 tenths? Fuck you, man.
But just a few laps later, I managed to replicate the same exit out of turn 1, gain some time back into the second sector, and bring all that extra time across the start finish line. And we end the morning on a 1 minute 44.484. A pretty productive morning, if I may say so myself. After some quick errands, dinner, and a quick shower to wash off all the sweat from the morning driving session, it was now 6 p.m. when I hit the track again.
Florian van Zelter.
Time is of the essence. I was still sitting firmly outside of the top 200 at Belgium, but this is when I noticed something. My delta keeps going up and down in turn 1, Stavelot, No Name, and especially through Les Combes, where I still lack a lot of confidence. And for the life of me, I just could not put a valid lap together. So I decided to watch back my best lap from the previous session. And this is something I recommend everybody who's trying to become faster to try at least once. Because practicing blindly may yield results, but practicing with specific goals in mind will help you get there much faster. I then tuned into Otis Lawrence's world record lap on YouTube for inspiration. And compared to the newly crowned esports world champion, well, let's just say I was missing a lot of confidence on throttle. That and the fact that I was spinning a lot more. And if I wasn't spinning, then I was busy getting rage baited by that curve coming out of Eau Rouge.
On call, man. What? What the fuck? What did I hit?
I kept making simple mistakes, and this was costing me several tenths every corner, and I needed to fix that. So I hit the track again. After a couple of laps, I get much better on throttle through the S's, but a bad exit out of Stavelot means I only gain half a tenth. On lap 6, across the start-finish line, I bring the time down to a 1 minute 44.444. And on lap 7, I managed to carry way more minimum speed through No Name and have a much better run out of Stavelot. I lose a tiny bit of time into the bus stop chicane, but that lap was well and good enough to bring me down into the 1 minute 44.387. I was now 186 on the leaderboard. Mission complete.
More time, but I'm happy with that.
Unfortunately, there's no time to dwell because my lap at COTA was still hot garbage.
God, there's so much understeer.
I was still in the 364th place on the leaderboard. With the end of the day rapidly approaching, I had about 36 hours left to complete this challenge. Previous night's rest seems to have really consolidated my driving and confidence level on this track. I was quickly finding a lot of lap time, but hooking a full lap together still seems just as difficult as it is to talk to women.
No!
I also used the world record lap on YouTube as a reference to help pinpoint the places I needed to improve in. Of course, I was failing and resetting a lot of my laps, but failing is not a bad thing. With every missed apex, there is a lesson to be learned. Did I mention how easy it is to lock the rears with these new cars under braking? I have now. After about 15 laps or so,
why, man?
I was down to a flat 1 minute 32.
Fuck this track, man.
But I needed to break into the 131s to have a competitive lap time, and it was definitely possible because I keep driving across the line with 2 or 3 tenths in the bank. The only problem, I keep invalidating because at COTA, every corner is a potential invalidation. You can invalidate your lap on entry, mid-corner, and exit. And just when I thought I was going to break into the 7s, I missed the apex out of the final corner. So in the end, I only had a 1 minute 31.8 to show for.
Fanculo, questo gioco di merda.
It was now well into the late afternoon on July 8th, and this would quite possibly be the last opportunity for me to improve my lap times in this challenge.
Find another 10th at least.
But for some reason, for the life of me, I just could not do the same lap anymore. I don't know whether it's because of the pressure or maybe it was the setup. But I'll tell you what it is. Most likely, it's me overdriving the car. The most frustrating part is I don't even need to improve anywhere else. All I need to do is take a good enough of a last corner and we would move up probably 20 to 30 positions at the leaderboard. I just need to find that final 10th. I have to get a move on because there's still Belgium to go for this last day, and I think I can at least find another 10th minimum at Belgium. But I either go too wide, carry too much speed into the corner, or I just simply invalidate. And this is the worst feeling. When you know where the time is, but somehow the execution is just not lining up for you. And it must have taken at least 15 laps before the good one happened. Into the third sector, I managed to match my current personal best with 300s in the green. Don't invalidate into the penultimate corner and on exit as well. And now, whether we get a good exit, it's going to change everything. And we do a full 10 from that single corner, and we move up to 157th place. Was there more time in there? Yes. The answer is almost always yes. But we're running out of time here, and we still got Belgium to do. My lap time at this point was still sitting at a 1 minute 44.3 high. And from the moment I jumped into the sim, we already half a tenth up going to middle sector. Could this be it? In just a single lap? Unfortunately, that seems a little too good to be true.
Oh, I had it, man.
But I knew in the back of my mind there was more than enough time to find on this track, which I thought I had previously mastered. I still managed to find time, and Belgium is such a long track that there's so many opportunities for you to gain time from. That is, if you don't run onto the grass. But I was locked in, and I was not ready to give up now. Look at the time gain into the second sector. Even though it invalidates, it shows us what could be. And on the very next lap, again, I managed to bring a full 10th into the second sector. But I run a little bit deep into the fast chicane, and I clip the inside grass and go wide and invalidate. But with every lap, I gain experience. With every missed apex, it teaches you something different. The combined theoretical is rapidly coming down. Even though it's still jumping up and down in the middle sector, I know all it takes is one lap. One good lap where I chain every corner together. I must have restarted the lap so many times. I think we're close to about 20 laps done in this single session, but I'm not ready to give up now. Not when we're this close to the goal. And if there's one thing you can be sure about Formula Kai, is that he never gives up. And I must have done at least 30 laps by now in a single session. It's frustrating for sure, being this close, but not being able to hook it up. But on lap 32, this is when everything came together. Into turn 1, peak at 100% brake pressure and be aggressive with the throttle while keeping the hands light, gaining us close to 7 tenths before we even get to Eau Rouge and then Radion. Making sure to use plenty of curb, cut the inside, and then avoid the curb on the exit out of Radion, because that's where you can bottom out and then lose magically 2 to 3 tenths. 800ths, nearly a full tenth up going into the second sector, and this is where the roller coaster starts. Use all of the outside curve on entry and be aggressive. Turn in early because you can with this year's car. Good speed carried, good exit, another half a tenth gained. Down to third, aggressive with the throttle to help rotate the rear, losing maybe a little bit mid-corner, but we gained so much coming out of the Jackie X corner. I had never been this locked in, using all of the entry curve once again to open up this corner, but stay tight to the left to reduce running distance 1.6 tenths up into the fast chicane. You gotta attack the corner, but stay to the right so you can really open up this left. Full throttle as soon as you can, and now into one of the most crucial corners of the track. Unfortunately, I go a little bit deep, lose half a tenth on exit, but still 800s gain, headed towards Blanchimont and then into the bus stop chicane. Could this be it? One chicane left to negotiate, but this corner could make or break this lap. Again, staying tight to the inside. Now running over this inside curb to keep the car straight, braking at 100 meter, using the curb on the left to open up the track, down to second gear, aggressive with the throttle. And I'm actually going to be a full tenth up.
Let's go. Come on.
And with that, I can finally rest with both laps submitted, with the final lap time at Spa being a 1 minute 44.295 and a 1 minute 31.731 at COTA. Could I have done better? Of course. But am I damn proud of these laps? Yes. And all we have to do now is wait for the official announcement from yours truly, Mr. Crypto.
And I'm happy to announce I will be racing in F5 for season 43 of PSGL. Not bad, considering I did all this in less than 72 hours. Not only that, what took me 2 weeks last year to achieve, I managed to do it in just 3 days. And I owe that to all the people that surround me and to you for always being here. And of course, I'm very proud of where I am now. If you wish to follow my adventures in PSGL, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a race. Let me know how your signups went for PSGL, and if you're racing, in the comments below. I'm going to link the season opener on screen now for you to watch. This is Formula Kai signing off. I'll see you in the next one.